Hi, we'd like to welcome you to our program called Developing into Dads. The purpose of this program is to tell the stories about the fathers in our communities and to talk about the issues of fatherhood and how they affect our community and especially the children. Today our guest is DaMareo Cooper. He is a organizer for the Ohio Organizing Collaborative. And I know that DaMareo works on a couple of issues that are close to my heart. One of them is mass incarceration, and the other one is removing the collateral damages that happen to people when they do receive a felony. Mass incarceration really and father absence are tied together, in my opinion, and they really have a damaging effect on our children. And so DaMareo is going to come today and give us some insight of what's going on in that movement. DaMareo, kind of tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name is DaMareo Cooper. I am a community organizer. Actually, I'm the organizing director at Ohio Organizing Collaborative.
Okay.
I'm also the executive director of a group in Youngstown called the Mahoney Valley Organizing Collaborative, which is kind of the first location where we started building the OOC. We work on a lot of issues, from retirement security to living wages. Ballot initiatives are coming up around like raising the minimum wage in the state, but also we work on ending mass incarceration. So with that work right now, we basically train people who are closely affected by the problems to actually deal with the problems. So we're not like an advocacy or a social service organization. I consider like advocacy is where you go and represent a group of people. Social service is when you provide a service to a group of people. But what we do is organizing and leadership development. So the folks who are actually affected by the problem are trained up and then taught to go and advocate for themselves.
Wow.
Yeah, so right now, through that process, we have a bill, actually a fair hiring bill, a statewide fair hiring policy bill in the State House in the General Assembly right now. It's House Bill 56.
House Bill 56.
Yeah.
And this bill is directly fashioned so that it brings some parity for folks with felonies.
That's right. What the bill actually does is it has employers, particularly state employers, meaning like municipalities, cities, things like that. What you have to do is put what felonies can't have whatever particular job at the front of the process. So you put that early on, say if you have this kind of felony, you cannot work here. Then the person gets to go through the interview without like taking the box off of the application. You take the box off the application. They go through the interview process. Once the employer deems them employable, that's when they run the background check. If their felony is not one of the ones that will restrict them from the job, we feel like they should be able to work that job. I mean, it comes from the logic that if you got a felony for writing bad checks, right? No one's saying that you should work at a bank.
Okay.
Right? Like, that's probably not a good environment for you. But that doesn't mean that you couldn't mop floors in the high school, for instance, right? Or if you have a pedophile felony, you should not work in schools. Nobody's arguing that. Right. But that doesn't mean that you couldn't be a bank teller, right? So, we need to be more, specific about where we're closing people out. Because right now, you have a felony, you can't work anywhere.
Yeah. Actually, you can take your license for certain felonies that
are
unrelated to driving, right?
Exactly. And then, like, all the jobs you got to drive to. So,
right. So I know, the mass incarceration, we joined you last year in Washington, D.C., when I had an opportunity to meet people from all over the world who are very passionate about issues. Part of that process was dispelling some of the myths of incarceration.
Yes.
Can you share with us at least 3 of those myths?
So, there's a bunch of myths around.
Well, let me tell you the one I heard. Mm-hmm. There's more black people in prison.
Oh yeah, that one is definitely a myth, right? Like so in the United States right now.
Okay.
Right now in our country, if you took all of the black people out of prison, all of them, we would still incarcerate more people than most countries in the world.
Wow.
Than probably all countries in the world. Right now there's 2.4 million people incarcerated. So and I mean, yes, African Americans definitely represent. So the myth that there's more African Americans is really connected to the fact that there are more African Americans represented in prison than the population in the country.
Okay.
So whereas we don't make up a large population of the country, we're like half of the people incarcerated, which I mean, like, studies have been done recently that show that, African Americans don't use drugs or sell drugs more than white Americans.
Okay.
It's just that African Americans are getting targeted.
So that's a myth.
That's definitely a myth. I think another myth is that everyone who goes to prison will, like, eat your baby. Like, everybody who goes to prison is like an evil, terrible human being. And honestly, most people that has increased the incarceration rate have been nonviolent drug offenders. So it's not even like violent folks. It's not like people who hurt people that are really blowing up the incarceration rate. The other myth that I really want to mention is that actually violent crimes in the United States have been going down for 20 years. But that is not the narrative that's getting talked about. It's, crime is up. Crime is, if you classify crime as a kid smoking a joint, then maybe crime is up. But, I don't know.
Uh-oh.
But, I'm just saying,
Right.
But as far as violent crimes, we've been in a steady decline for 20 years.
Okay. So, in your opinion, what is the generational effect of incarcerating fathers?
Mm-hmm.
What does that affect? How does that affect the children in our community? And specifically, how does that affect their ability to possibly gain wealth in the future? Or does it affect that they will be more readily in poverty?
Well, one, when you don't have both parents, like most young people are trying to, or parents that they do have around are trying to, like, support their kids, and it's just one person, right? I think there's a lot of bad effects. One is that, young boys, particularly, and really young girls to some extent, like, the role models that they have end up being folks on TV. Instead of, like, somebody who's going to work or, like, at least being able to tell them the truth about what's going on in reality, right? I think a lot of young guys, like, miss their fathers. Young kids miss their fathers. Like, you can see when a parent goes to jail, the kid starts getting suspended from school, the kids start acting out, like there's actual reaction to it. And then there's a trauma around, incarceration is a system that this country has chosen to punish people by separating them from their families.
Wow.
If you get to the root of it, that's what it is. It's separating people from their families, separating people from their loved ones, and that's what we've chosen to do.
Okay.
And
a large population, as you said before, are nonviolent crimes.
Are nonviolent.
Yeah.
Are nonviolent. There's so much money getting made in the prison industry.
Wow.
And like, I know I don't want to go all the way down this trail on this show.
Okay, yeah.
But I think, like, there's an argument that could be made that this country is addicted to slavery. And, like, mass incarceration is the newest form of slavery. Why you see such a high representation of African Americans is because there's a need to control black bodies.
So now you said this is a new form of profiteering.
Oh, definitely.
And so we have both black and white folks being in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's definitely. It's always been the same. Like, I normally educate folks around, like, there were white slaves.
Sure.
And you read about them in your book. They weren't called white slaves in the book. They were called indentured servants. But to be an indentured servant, even for 7 years, means that your service is given to someone else, mostly a landowner, right? That is given to someone else in 7 years. So your freedom is taken for 7 years, and you're taught to work for somebody. That has always been the case.
So this sounds like a green issue rather than a black and white issue.
Oh man, it's definitely about the money. Like, people think, like, slavery actually was about white people hating black people. That was not what slavery was about. Slavery was about being able to get someone to work for you for free and paying them or not paying them at all, and being able to make enormous profits. When we look at the prison system and how it's developed after slavery, there was something called convict leasing. And there's a documentary called Slavery by Any Other Name that folks should check out, right? Like, and it talks about convict leasing and how people would go for job interviews and they get locked up for trespassing, have to do 10 years, right? So somebody can have them on an parchment farm working for free. So then once we killed convict leasing, and then there was still Jim Crow, right? After we killed convict leasing, something else grew, right? Like, this mass incarceration system comes after that, where we see, like, large numbers of urban areas being highly policed, police being incentivized. What we see in Ferguson, like, that's what's coming out now, is that the police were making money on these large stops and arrests, mostly with African Americans. These police are being incentivized to actually go after particular groups. Or you look at Tulia, Texas. I think there's another movie called Tulia you should check out, where they just They just locked up an entire community based on one.
How many?
Oh man, it was 100. It was like hundreds of people.
I'm
Like they
glad I'm not
locked
down.
up an entire community.
Yeah.
You know.
I've heard about people disappearing,
Oh, man.
ending up in labor camps and all kinds of things.
I mean,
I'm just glad I'm not one of them.
right. I'm trying to stay.
Now,
on the
DaMario,
outside.
you shared with me an incident that happened where you were in the community, you saw I think it was an African American man being stopped by the police, and something came upon you like to say, this may be our time, I need to step up and be a concerned citizen. Do you remember that moment? You may have been part of the incarceration system.
Oh,
How you
man.
did that. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Actually, it was 3 young people, and so what happened was I was actually around the corner from my home. I was coming home from work, and it was late. It was around January, but it was at 7:00, so it was dark. And I'm riding down Kelly Avenue. For folks who know where Kelly is, it's where the old Goodyear factories were, and there's really just like a place in Kelly where on the right side is Joy Park, the actual park, and then on the left side is the old industrial stuff from Goodyear. And I saw the police had their guns drawn on 3 young people, right? I mean, like looking at their size, I'm thinking they're probably like 12, 13, something like that. At the time, my mom had recently passed at that point, and I had moved home to take care of my little brothers, and they were like 13 and 12 at the time. So when I seen the boy, I kind of saw their face because the light kind of like a light flash, and I was like, hold up, I think I might know them. So I pull over. They're going northbound on Kelly. I pull over on southbound going Kelly, which is like 4 street lanes across. I roll down the driver's side window and I asked the cop, I was like, what did they do? I think I know them. Just trying to be like, kind of like, I know them. I could probably find their parents, And the cop basically tells me, mind my effing business.
He used profanity.
Yeah, oh, definitely. He told me to mind my effing business. So then I said, well, this looks fishy. I don't know, so I'm going to sit here and just watch. Now, what I should have did, and what I advise young people to do now, especially with encounters with the police, is pull out your phone.
Okay.
Before they even can think it's first things first, pull your phone out, turn your camera on. I should have did that in that situation. I did not. And like I sat there, I was watching, and then when I turned back around, there were 2 more police cars, and they were getting out the car. And
But did they approach you in any way?
Yeah. So when I seen the other 2 police cars, I'm like, okay, let me pull off, right? Like, I don't need it. So I started to try to pull off, but the police run in front of my car. They pull out their guns. Wow. All of them pull out their guns.
Did you think about mass incarceration?
I thought about getting murdered that night. There's, I know what happened. Well, it's odd because Rayshawn Vincent actually was shot. This is, I think, the 5th anniversary of him being shot in his grandmother's driveway was yesterday.
Yeah.
And I thought about that. I was like, they're going to kill me on the street. And so the guy, basically put his gun in my driver's side window and told me, get out. And when I got out, I'm 6'5" and some change. So when I get out, I'm very large, very dark, black man. And I could see him visually get, shook. So anyway, from that situation, I ended up going to jail that night for asking the police a question. And, had to go to court and everything. I actually got in trouble for an obstruction of justice.
Yeah. When I hear your story, I remember Morgan Freeman in the Amistad. If you've seen that picture where he's a free man, but he goes down into the belly of the ship and gets entangled in all these chains.
Yeah.
And he freaks out. Because he realizes that he's one of the fortunate people who hasn't experienced, and I'll just call it any type of incarceration.
Yeah.
And I think at that moment he realized that how fortunate he was, just to be a free person. And, sometimes that's the way I feel, just because it's not me inside those prison walls.
Definitely.
I have to come to the reality that anything may happen where, even being a concerned citizen and wanting to be involved and be moved with passion. May end me up right down there, getting 3 hots in a cot with the rest of everybody else.
Eating Nutriloaf.
Is that what they call it? So
People who've been to jail know it.
I'm a concerned citizen in the community.
Mm-hmm.
I'm concerned about social and economic justice. I want to learn more and possibly be a part of this movement of looking into mass incarceration and how we can keep our fathers in our communities so they can nurture our children. What do I do?
So there's like three things that you could definitely do. One is go down to 915 East Market Street.
Okay.
There's a building there. It's a storefront. Inside of there is where we have our offices in that building. So you could go down there and talk to somebody. There's normally someone there during the day, and they'll like hook you into like what we're doing. The other way is you could go online to the ohorganizing.org website.
What is that?
The Ohio Organizing Collaborative's website is ohorganizing.org.
Okay.
And you can there's ways to plug in there. You can get information. The other way is I think people could, as reluctant as I am to put my cell phone number out, I don't want any hate calls, but I'll give. I'm interested in.
You got an email address?
I do have an email. Thank you. They could email me at DaMareo, DaMareo, at ohorganizing.org.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah.
DaMareo, it was a pleasure having you.
Likewise.
I look forward to working with you in the future. And I am one of those concerned citizens, and you were a vehicle for me to grow, learn more about these issues, and be more involved.
Yes, sir.
In making a change. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Can I do a shameless plug?
Sure.
Shameless plug is folks need to start going to City Hall.
Okay.
They need to start attending City Hall meetings. There's an early meeting from 2 to 4, and then there's a late meeting at 7. And right now, we're trying to adjust the civil service laws around people who have felonies, being able to get these new jobs that are coming up with the sewer project.
Okay.
But we need folks to come with us down to City Council.
When is that?
It's Mondays, every Monday. I'll be there next Monday on the 23rd, I think that is, at 7. I'll be at City Hall. But every Monday, we need folks who are affected by the criminal justice system to come down, because right now they provided these classes for folks to take these classes to get these truck driving jobs. However, the policy in the city is not going to allow people who have felonies to actually work.
Yeah, we definitely. So when you see folks who are affected, like moms,
dads, children, people who were formerly incarcerated.
Pretty much all of us.
All of us have
a
somebody.
family member.
Oh yeah, whether we admit it or not, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, Uncle Billy is down. Yeah,
right.
So all of us do have that in our family. So that's a wonderful thing.
Yes.
We want to thank you for being here, DaMareo.
Thanks
I've
for
learned a
having me.
lot. I want to continue to be a part of your organization. It's helped me grow.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And we want to thank you for tuning in and watching this segment of Developing into Dads.
Thanks.